Running backroads of America and live from the G&D Show studios, this is your GhostMan&Demon Hunter Show.
Doesn't that sound exciting to you?
Hey, welcome back! Welcome back, all you fruitcakes, you weirdos, more or less the Shadow Nation. Welcome back to the one, the only, mystifying Oracle Radio, your GhostMan&Demon Hunter show. Demon Hunter!
Yes, sir.
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, new microphone, new evening, new week, new stuff. How's it going for you?
Special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps. Are you listening? They want to know. Check them out. ActionAudioApps.com. The SYL Project, guys. Yeah, .com. The SYL Project. Give some love. Share some love. Help them out today. Help those, your fellow brothers and sisters around the globe that need help. Go to the SYLProject.com. See what they're all about, guys. And welcome back to studio. Right, Nathan?
Yes, sir.
Oh, studio. Kind of excited tonight, man. It's popping off in here, and we got a lot of big stuff going on, a lot of stories around the globe, a lot of things going down that we have to talk about tonight. I wanted to start off by saying that we here at the G&D Show are saddened by the news of our friends in France, in Paris, that were attacked, cowardly attacked by the terrorist people that want to do terrible, terrible things to people like that. And the show is dedicated to our friends out that way. So heavy hearts tonight, guys, but we will push on and hope for the best.
Hey, Sean, when you were when you got the news first that there had been an attack in Paris, where were you?
I was sitting at home, actually.
I was driving in the car, and the initial account was at like 18, and then by that night it was up to the 120s.
Right.
And I was sitting there thinking, this feels familiar.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
It's horrible, horrible things that are happening in our world. Let's make them stop.
Yeah, let's make them stop. If only it was that easy, right? But, heavy hearts tonight, guys, and there's going to be crazies everywhere, and it's just the way it is. Anyway, this is a comedy show, so in the spirit of levity, well, I guess we should keep laughing, right? Bring in enjoyment and funny to the world, right?
That's correct, sir, and we'll wait till tomorrow, and then we'll take care of the bad things.
Sure, yeah. Well, I've had enough bad news. That's why I'm ready to be down here in studio. First off, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, first movie. Well, one of the only movies. I forget the other ones. Sold out opening day around the world.
Did it?
Way to go, Disney. Way to go. Way to pick up that LucasArts franchise, buddy.
And they're counting the money.
Yeah,
spending it before it's even in.
Mickey Mouse can afford some. It's no more that cheese on the counter, that stale cheese. He gets cheese whiz. That's what he gets. Crackers.
Ooh, the big stuff.
Yeah, the
port wine tub.
Yeah. Wasn't Steamboat Willie? Was he always a mouse? I don't think he was always a mouse, was it?
Before
Steamboat Willie was, but
yes, Steamboat Willie was always a mouse. But before Walt Disney started his own company.
Yeah.
He had created another character.
Okay, I'm listening.
Who was very, very Mickey-esque.
Yeah. Do you remember that character's name? I don't remember.
I want to say Oswald.
Oswald
the Lucky Rabbit.
There's conspiracy behind that.
And if you Google, Sean, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Wabbit. And it pops up, you'll kind of see the initial Mickey Mouse characters.
Well, I'm going to have to check that out, man. I'm excited to do it.
If you took Oswald's long ears and shrunk them down, you'd kind of have the original Mickey. But he was working for somebody else, so when he left that studio and went to work for himself, he no longer owned Oswald and created Mickey. So
Okay, I got it. One thing I did find out, you know how much we love scary movies here in G&D Studios, right?
Oh yes, we are scary movie people.
That's right, absolutely. So you guys might remember a little film called Salem's Lot, huh?
I enjoyed that film, Sean. I did. I enjoyed the book even more.
Oh yeah, the book was great. That was the first time I actually seen the movie first when it was on ABC. When it was a 3-day
when it was
special.
edited.
Right. So I had seen it there, and then I went out to the library and read the book, and the book was bone-chilling, but
Yes.
it was really good. Anyway,
That was a vampire story. No sparkly
yeah,
wusses and trees.
that's right. No shining teeth and pretty boy eyes and all that stuff, and sweat sparkles or whatever he does. I don't know. I never got into the Twilight series, but the Salem's Lot was filmed in California, like most shows back then. They were supposed to be set in Maine, if you remember, right? Salem's Lot, Maine. And I seen some pictures, some old pictures from the actual filming locations in the Fernando, California, or whatever, this little small town where they filmed it. And the Marston House. You remember the Marston House, the one that sat on the hill, the haunted?
Right.
Okay. It's there. That house is there. The front, of course, was built on, but there's a ginormous house all boarded up, setting on that hill. I thought that was really cool.
It was a facade.
It was. It was a facade. You seen the video I posted on my...
Yes.
Yeah, and the cemetery they had there, what they actually filmed in the cemetery, they showed all the little... I love stuff like that. There's some guys on the internet that you can go around, like the Goonies, and they take you... They'll show the scene from the movie, and then they'll... Have you seen it?
I have not.
Yeah, they'll show you a scene from the movie, and then they'll be out walking like the same path and say, well, look, they've changed this. The sidewalk's different. It's really neat. I think it's cool. Somebody did it for Halloween, too. They went down the street where the old Halloween house was, and it's no longer there, sad to say. Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, it's no longer there. The house has been destroyed.
It's been destroyed.
It's condominiums. Yeah, it's condominiums. Can you believe it?
Did they at least call them Salem condominiums?
No, they did not. Salem. No, that was the Halloween. I moved on from Salem.
Okay.
Yeah. So what else is going on? Take it away. Let me hear you.
Take it away.
Yeah.
I've been like following up. You know, Sean, I'm a Florida fan.
Yeah, I know.
I love Florida.
Disney.
Want to go to Florida.
Yeah.
But how come every weird and crazy story we get comes out of Florida?
Crazy. That heat, man. That heat.
It must be the heat.
Yeah.
This week, Friday the 13th, actually.
Okay.
Happy Friday the 13th, by the way, Sean.
Yeah, happy Friday.
It's the 15th now, but
we survived. We survived.
We survived another Friday the 13th. But a Florida woman was arrested on Friday the 13th for calling the police and asking them to bring her wigs and cigarettes.
Wigs and cigarettes.
Wigs and cigarettes. A 45-year-old woman is accused of calling the police and asking them to bring her wigs and cigarettes. I'm getting this from UPI News. And claiming that she was too drunk to drive to get them herself.
Well, how did she get arrested? I mean, she wasn't driving.
Well, when the officers arrived, she repeatedly asked them for cigarettes while claiming that the call was a joke. And the Orlando Sentinel reported that the police report was switched back on and back and forth from the laughter and sobbing that they was going on while they were interviewing her. But the police did handcuff her and put her in the police car. When she arrived at the Lake County Jail, she reportedly began shouting profanities. So right there, guys, if you're going to call the cops and ask for cigarettes, if they don't bring you your cigarettes, don't curse at them because you will get arrested.
Yeah.
After being warned several times, the police restrained her arms and legs to prevent her from harming herself and others. Apparently she was kicking and punching toward the ceiling. So maybe she was possessed, Sean. We are dealing with some possessions this week.
Oh, wow. She was kicking and screaming, huh?
Yeah.
Cops never run into that, do they?
Never, ever.
Yeah. Anyway, since you brought that up, crazy lady, is she okay? Is she still in prison? Or?
She apparently is okay. I think she They don't give us a report of when she has to stand before the judge.
Okay.
But it was a Saturday, and it was in the evening, and the judges aren't in on Sunday, so she probably saw the judge today, Sean.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you should be released on your own recognizances if the judge isn't there. They should have a 24-hour.
Yes, because I didn't mean to shoot that man, and the judge isn't available, so I should just go home.
Right. Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying. There's people that get pulled over for, expired parking tickets, and they take them in, and they have to.
Well, you know that story of my expired parking ticket with the police, right, Sean?
No, I don't.
I got arrested. I didn't pay a parking ticket.
Yeah.
I had like 3 of them, and I paid 2 of them. I forgot about the 3rd one. They showed up at my door, and I was smart. I didn't open the door.
Right.
And when they left, I went and called the police and said, I understand there's a warrant for my arrest. I'm going to go pay the parking ticket. And I went and paid the parking ticket, and when I was there, they arrested me.
Oh, so you have... Oh, wow.
And handcuffed me and all the fun stuff. And then it was the day before Christmas Eve. Yeah. And I said, I'll pay the fine right now, whatever it is.
Yeah. And
come back to court. And they said, okay, it's $98. And I said, I have $100 right here. And they said, no, it's $98. You have to have exact change.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, I don't have exact change, and you can keep the $2. And he said, are you trying to bribe an officer?
Oh, you're fib. Are you
and
serious?
I was like, are you serious? Come on. And a cop walked in and handed me $3 because I had 95, right. And another 5. And he said, just pay the fine. They're gonna throw you in jail for Christmas if you don't pay the fine.
Well, that's nice of me.
I paid the fine, and apparently a distant cousin of mine who has the exact same name as I do had really ticked them off.
Really?
And they thought it was me, and they were going to take it out on me for Christmas.
So you'd be you'd have a blue Christmas.
I would have had a blue something, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Nathan, since you brought it up, you know what time it is?
What time is it, sir?
Tonight's guest! That's right. You hear the music? Shadow Nation, tonight's guest, he is a board-certified psychiatrist, professor of psychiatry at the New York Medical College, and on the faculty of the Columbia University Psychoanalytic Institute. He was a Pi Beta Kappa graduate of Princeton University. Dr. Gallagher is tonight's guest. He's the only psychiatrist to have served for a number of years on the governing board of the International Association of Exorcist. He has collaborated with many priests, ministers, and other clergy in the assessment of the individuals being evaluated for possible demonic attack. What do you think about that, Nathan?
I think there's a lot of big words there, Sean.
Yeah, I do too. And I got him. I think I did pretty dang good. Anyway, Dr. Gallagher's going to stop by tonight, guys. Now, we have to warn you. Nathan and I have talked to him a little bit, and what you're going to hear tonight is some pretty spooky stuff. Don't you think, Nate?
I think so. Usually, Sean and I get into these conversations with people, and when we were asking him to come on the show, we were talking about different aspects of the paranormal. That's right. And he's not a paranormal guy. He's a psychiatrist.
Yes.
And when he breaks it down to the difference between the psychological and the spiritual, it ran chills up my spine, sir.
Yes, sir. He makes some great statements tonight. He says he's going to talk about a lot of things. Of course, we're going to ask him about the new Oxford Review letter he did in March 2008, the article. He says tonight he's going to speak about a true-cut case of demonic possession. Only at the home of the Mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghost Man and Demon Hunter show.
If it does half of what we talked about beforehand, Sean, tonight, it's going to be a spooky night.
It is going to be a spooky night. Of course, we've received the warning, guys, that Nathan and I have received before. Warning, gentlemen, when I come on, strange things happen. Haven't we, Nate?
We don't like that warning, Sean, because whenever we get that warning, something weird happens.
Right. Well, you get to go do the interview this time. How about that?
Yeah, well, you might have gotten struck by lightning last time, but I got beat up by a demon.
Right.
So.
It's only fair your house blows up this time, and yeah, and you get to be on TV for it. I think that's what should happen.
Hey, you got to be on TV, but I had an actor betray me, so.
That's true. That is true. Anyway. So, Demon Hunter, without further ado, I say we do this. We haven't done it in a while. How about tonight's news segment?
In the news?
Yeah, it's always fresh, it's always exciting, it's strange, weird, and it's straight from the G&D Show vaults, and it starts right
now.
Damn it, that felt good. We haven't done that in so long.
That's right, folks. It's G&D in the News. Reminder, the G&D in the News is weird news that Sean and I pick right out of the paper because we like the titles. We haven't read them yet, so we tend to make a lot of mistakes. Every time we make a mistake, you take a drink. That's the G&D drinking game. We, of course, would like to remind you that if you're listening to this while driving in your car, don't play the G&D drinking game. And if you are going to do anything important this evening, like, say, perform an exorcism, please listen responsibly.
I would have to be drunk. And that's the drink bell, guys. When you hear that go off, it means drink. Absolutely. Nathan, do you mind if I go first tonight? What do you think?
Go first, sir.
I really want to. That's why my computer probably won't cooperate tonight here in the G&D Show studio.
The demons are coming after you already, Sean.
Here we go. Our friends at the Huffington Post. Don't even joke about it. Not with our history, man. Not with our history. My God. All right. New York news leak. This comes out of Huffington Post. 61% of Americans pee in the shower.
That's disgusting.
37% look at their toilet paper after they wipe. Are you one of these?
Now I'm going to have to check to see if I'm one of the people who looks when he wipes, because I've never noticed myself looking when I wipe. So I assume I'm not, but now I have to check to see. The next time I have to use the...
What are you hoping to see? That's what I want to know.
Well, no.
You know, people look at that.
It's like reading entrails. I can tell the future.
Dookie! If you don't think American bathroom habits are gross or disgusting, you're in for a shock. A whopping 61% admit that they pee in the shower, and 41%...
Have a drink.
Yeah, drink up, guys. Hold on, I gotta get the bell. 41% admit peeing in the swimming pools. Ooh, 41%. That's kind of low, actually. The other didn't admit to it. The other 40. Yeah, that's just one of the bodily...
I don't think I've peed in a swimming pool since I was 8.
Really? Lie! That's just one of the bodily function bits of info wiped up in a survey conducted on behalf of the... I'm not even going to try to do that. Drink up anyway.
Have a drink.
Yeah. Makers of the wireless waterproof Bluetooth-enabled shower speaker. Abco, there you go, guys. Abco Tech founder Yossi Fish. Drink, guys. Figures there's a good reason why people are so willing to be gross in private. The bathroom is one of the few sanctuaries in your home where you can let your hair down, release the tensions of the day, and just be yourself. Fish said in a press release, people cling to certain habits, whether while using the toilet or bathing, and music is often part of that routine, but those aren't the only pieces of doo-doo data soaked up in the survey. You ready for the rest of it? I'm going to hit you with some knowledge.
I'm ready.
All right, get ready. Don't look at your stuff down there when you're wiping there. But those aren't the only pieces of doo-doo data. I just want to read that again. 50% of respondents said they fold their toilet paper before wiping themselves.
Okay, I think I probably do that. While
30% just wad it up. Are you a wadder or a folder?
I think I'm a folder.
I would say I'm a wadder. I don't have time to fold my toilet paper. What are you packing it? Do you want to? You afraid your butthole's going to be upset that?
I don't know what you're packing in your butthole, but
I don't know. But can you say butthole? We said it. Who cares?
It's two separate words. Neither one's forbidden, so I think we're okay.
Anyway, 60% believe a toilet paper roll should go over the top. This has been a big debate on the show. 60% believe a toilet paper roll should go over the top and in the front, but 13% prefer it rolling under and in the back.
They're wrong.
Right. That's how spiders get on, remember?
Yes.
When you're rolling it out. 43% admit to checking the contents of the bowl before flushing. Oh, God, that's nasty. That is gnarly. 37% look at their toilet paper after wiping. That's what you said you do. What Americans do in public toilets is slightly different, but no less weird. Okay, here we go. Public toilets, and this is it. 45% say that they cover the toilet seat with paper before doing their business. That's not uncommon.
No, I do that.
Yeah, that's how you get toilet paper.
They don't have one of those little seat protectors.
Yeah, that's how you get toilet paper coming out the top of your blue jeans when you're walking back to your movie theater or whatever. And they're, oh my God, you got dookie. You're like, no, dude, I was trying to be clean. Anyway, 36% use their foot to flush instead of their hands. That's pretty smart.
I do that.
Yeah. 35% refuse to actually sit on public toilets, preferring to hover over the seat instead.
Depends on the cleanliness of the bathroom.
Yeah, and there you go, guys. There's your percentage. 61% of Americans pee in the shower.
And this was by somebody named Fish?
Yeah, Fish. F-I-S-C-H.
You see, it makes sense that he pees in the shower because fish do all their business in the water.
Fish pee in the water. Yeah, they do. Anyway, you're up next, buddy. What do you got?
I'm up next. Hey, Sean.
What?
You're a Star Wars fan.
Oh, my God. I'm so excited.
This Star Wars shrine can be rented for $50 a night.
You lie.
I tell the truth.
Okay. What is
Trust your feelings by booking a night at an incredible Star Wars shrine.
Can we go? Can we go?
British mailman Dave Olberry, this comes from the Huffington Post, has splashed out an astonishing $225,000 on picking up his, have a drink, folks, picking his Staffordshire, Hampshire home full of memorabilia.
Oh, my God.
The 46-year-old has more than 500 figures, numerous posters, books, and life-size stormtroopers.
Okay, I'm down
according
with that.
to the BBC.
Yeah.
His body is covered with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader tattoos.
That's not bad. Darth Vader, definitely cool.
And he has traveled the world to track down some 9,000 cast members to get their autographs.
Hey, listen.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Oh, apparently not. I wonder how often he's heard that when he asked for it.
I don't know.
Olberry has offered his fellow Star Wars nuts the chance to stay in his home in the run-up to the UK release of the new Force Awakens movie on December 17th.
You just said he offered his fellow Star Wars fans nuts.
That's what he called them.
No, they're nuts. You didn't say...
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe clarify that much.
Olberry has offered fellow Star Wars nuts. Have 2 drinks on that one, folks.
Yeah.
Running up to the Star Wars movie, December 17th, for just $50 a night.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the Huffington Post, folks, you can see some of the stuff that you'll be able to find at home. It's described as being in a neighborhood under control by the Empire and is protected by his energy shield that is able to withstand a bombardment. House rules include not using lightsabers indoors, nor going down the side path which leads to the dark side. Most importantly, he said that visitors must always let the Wookiee win. See. Olberry said that he has gotten to hang out with his heroes and from the films while getting their signatures, and that he gives his guests the inside scoop. He said he became obsessed with his fascination as a child and has dedicated himself to the cause, and it has snowballed ever since. So I guess, Sean, if you want to, he admits, hold on. He admitted it was not going to happen, but he released the idea to his, this is a separate story. Never mind. Have a drink on me, folks.
Drink up, guys.
He said it wasn't going to happen, but he admitted to folks that he was interested in wearing his Carrie Fisher slave princess outfit, but no, not going to happen. So.
Not gonna do it, huh?
I think I changed the story a little bit there. I don't think he was actually going to do that.
Hey, Nathan, this is from November 4th, but we didn't mention it, and I find it important. It came on about midnight. They posted, our good friends at Huffington Post, paranormal radio host Mr. Art Bell, our brother there, mysteriously disappears from Sirius XM.
You know, they've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah. Well, I haven't read up. Let's find out. It says the much ballyhooed return of the paranormal radio host Art Bell ended in just 6 weeks. Wow. The master of UFOs, fringe science, and conspiracy theory is apparently at odds with SiriusXM over live streaming for his millions of fans. The 68-year-old co-creator of the hugely successful Coast to Coast AM retired from his full-time role of Master of the Macabre. I would say that's us, pretty much. We've taken over, Art. We love you, though, buddy. In 2003, after 15 years, over that span, he went from mainstream talk to highly successful foray into unexplained phenomena, turning the syndicated juggernaut into the most listened-to overnight show in North America. The late-night show's reigns were comfortably taken over by popular, of course, George Norrie. Huh?
Yes, we've spoken to George Norrie, not on the show, but on the phone.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently, no one has been able to track down Mr. Art Bell for a while. He's been missing.
Well, maybe he called up some of his alien friends.
I don't know. It says, but since Bell's new program that aired September 16th, there have been, according to Bell on his website, many problems with streaming his show. Some speculate it could be the military not wanting him to be picked back up. In an interview he did on Area 51, where he seemed to start having the problems. Huh?
Well, that's like when we had the problem with the KGB, Sean.
The KGB from Texas.
Yes.
Was that the Russian Texas?
That was the Texas Russian who got cut off from our interview when we started saying that the KGB still existed.
Hey, didn't you read last week the botched patient spent $200,000 on surgery to look like Jessica Rabbit? Didn't you read that?
I did not read that.
Yes, you did. I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm thinking I didn't. I think I would remember that.
She's got huge jugs, man. Oh, my God. I mean, it's paranormal.
Can we say jugs?
Yeah, I'm saying it. Who cares? Nobody's paying us. Botched patient spent $200,000 on surgery to look like Jessica Rabbit. Here we go. These are paranormal worthy. I'm reading it. Jessica Rabbit's exaggerated curves don't come cheap, and the latest patient on Botched is proof. Meet Cassandra, a transgender woman. Oh my God! How comes the best looking? It seems like are transgender. I never understand this. They look because they buy the whole thing. You know. Oh well. Meet Cassandra, the transgender. I'm still, even if it's Casey the dude, gigantic boobs dude. Congratulations. Hats off to you. Anyway, meet Cassandra, a transgender woman who's already spent a small fortune, about $200,000, she says, on a plastic surgery with the hopes of looking like the sexy cartoon character. In the clip for Tuesday's episode of the Plastic Surgery Show, Cassandra meets with Dr. Paul Nessif and Dr. Terry DeBrow. Because she's having trouble breathing through her nose, especially when she lays on her back. No, she also wants to alter her waistline to better match that of the sensual Miss Rabbit. During her consultation, Cassandra outlines all the procedures she's done, including her breasts, hips, butt, brow, lips, and cheeks. The only thing I haven't done, she says, is my heart. Wow. Right off the bat, the doctors are in awe of Cassandra, who calls herself a cosmetic concoction. And you got to see the pictures of her, guys. Look it up immediately. 200,000 blown on transgender, apparently. Jessica Rabbit. But I mean, wow. She looks like Jessica Rabbit. Or he looks like Jessica Rabbit.
Well, if she's had that much surgery, Sean, she's a she.
Yeah, well, you never know. You know, I still get confused. You never know what to say. And, you know, whatever you want to be called. He, she, Mr., Mrs. It's fine with me. Just let me know.
She likes being called Miss Rabbit.
Yeah, Miss Rabbit.
Rabbit.
I don't know. What else you got? You got another one?
I don't, but we're running out of time, Sean, and there's something else we wanted to discuss tonight.
Oh, Oh, yeah, you want to talk some more, huh? Our segment got shorter, guys, and yeah, we did. Anyway, that's in the news, guys.
In the news.
Moving
But
on
Sean,
to another G&D original series. Rot Talk! This is the show, guys, where each week we talk about what we think, what we know, what we love is going to happen on the show we all know and love, The Walking Dead. Nathan?
it's not like we changed the entire time schedule of our show to match up with it.
No, we didn't. Absolutely not. That would be insane.
Why would we go and do that?
I don't know. Crazy. So what's going
So-
on? What's the rules of this whole thing?
That's right, folks. Sean and I are going to start discussing The Walking Dead. You know it. You love it. We do too. And unfortunately, this is your spoiler alert. Woo, woo, woo. We don't know what's going to happen tonight or in the future, but we're going to tell you what we think, and we're going to tell you what we've seen. So if you're not caught up, you've got 3 seconds to fast forward about 2 minutes into the show so that you
Right.
don't get ruined. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, Sean. I started last week. You start this week.
This week on Rot Talk, guys, big news comes out of our Hollywood friends, out there in this sunny California area, right? You ready for
That's
it?
right. We have so many friends in California.
We do.
We're always funny.
Have an awful lot, actually. Walking Dead cast major comic villain Negan. Huh?
You remember when I first introduced you to the concept of Negan being on the show, Sean?
I do remember that.
It's a scary concept.
It is a very scary comment. A lot of people speculated, is Glenn dead? Is he coming back? What's happening? Ooh la, ooh rah, ooh rah. Some people think that this was a bad leak, which I don't know. The Hollywood Reporter's covering it right now. But they've cast none other than Jeffrey Dean Morgan from The Good Wife, Watchmen, and much, much more that he's done. Have you ever heard of this guy?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Only from Watchmen.
Yeah, well, there you go. Following the extensive casting search, AMC's The Walking Dead has found its next major villain. Jeffrey Dean Morgan has been taped to take on the iconic role of Negan, the F-bomb dropping dastardly character from Robert Kirkman's comic series. The Hollywood Reporter has learned the character, whose sources say first will arrive in the season 6 finale coming up, Nathan. Coming up.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, season 6 finale would be what, in like 3 shows or 2?
I think we have 3 left,
Wow, 3
including
left.
tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, season 6 finale, directed by Greg Nicotero, is the violent leader of a group known as the, Nathan,
The Wolves?
Saviors,
Oh, the Saviors.
that uses force and intimidation to subjugate other communities, including Alexandria. Negan first appears in the landmark 100th issue when he crosses paths with Rick Grimes, who has been vocal about bringing down the man who takes half the community's supplies in exchange for protection from walkers. By comparison, Negan makes David Morrissey's governor look like a fluffy bunny. Negan, who went through the casting process under the name of Orin. That's what they called him to keep him out of the fupa, out of the spotlight. But bad
It
job.
leaked.
It leaked. Everything leaks anymore. It's gotta be crazy to try to keep something a secret in Hollywood. Anyway, he went under the name Orin while they were casting him. Become the primary villain in the comic series since he shockingly killed Glenn with Lucille, which is his baseball bat covered in barbed wire that he carries with him at all times. He's still alive as of issue 145. Morgan first will join the series as a guest star before being prompted to series regular for the season 7. Morgan was one of the multiple actors who had buzz as being in the running at some point of the role, though no others received offers. Production on the season 6 finale begins this week in Atlanta. There you go.
Oh my.
Legans
Well,
it.
Sean, this is that big spoiler time because,
Yeah.
If Negan is coming, folks,
Right.
and Glenn, 50-50 chance that he's dead,
Right.
well, I'm thinking Glenn probably alive then because Negan's on his way.
Yeah.
And there's the big... Wouldn't that be a shocker to everybody if, Glenn shows up back alive in the season 6 finale And then in the opening of season 7, Negan kills him.
Yeah, well, that's what it sounds like, though, Nathan. In the Hollywood Reporter that they said here that he's going to pop his head, Negan is at the end, and starts taking their stuff and offering them some kind of protection from walkers. Rick must be out of town.
That's the comic book.
Yeah, and
that's how it happens in the comic book.
Right.
And as we all know, the comic book and the TV series do not follow each other. It's 2 different universes, folks.
Uh-huh.
If it wasn't, Daryl wouldn't exist because Daryl's not in the comic.
And women around the world would cry.
Yes, but let's face it, Sean. He may have just been joking, but executive producer. What's the Walking Dead executive producer's name again?
Nicotero?
Nick Tadero. Last year at Comic-Con, when was asked what people could expect from Walking Dead, he made a comment that, well, sometime in the next season or 2, Glenn's going to get his head bashed in by a baseball bat.
Right. Well,
so he made that statement, and whether or not he was joking just to get a rise out of people, but Negan's showing up.
Right.
We're building up the love for Glenn. Everybody's screaming, Glenn's got to be alive. Glenn's got to be alive. And then along comes Negan, folks. I've got bad news for you. I think Negan's going to do what he was destined to do. It is your destiny.
Luke, I am your father. Now, young Skywalker, you will die.
Little quick side on this, Sean.
What
do you
is?
think we're going to see any of the folks from Fear the Walking Dead arrive in this particular episode or this particular season or next season?
No, way too soon. They haven't even got Fear the Walking Dead its wings yet. I would say give it another season at the very least.
Well, how long could this go on? How long was Rick in the hospital for? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, months or a month, I don't know how long it was that he was in there, but I would assume months. Couple months, a month. But he didn't die, and he was without food and IV and water for a while, so I guess all we'd have to do is Google how long can you survive without water. Then we'd find out. Anyway, guys, that's what Nathan and I think what will happen. What will happen tonight, Nathan, on The Walking Dead?
They've been throwing us some curveballs, Sean.
Yeah.
From this moment we came back and they had the episode that worked backwards.
Yeah, it's kind of slowed down. People are saying
slowed it down, which I appreciated. I really did.
Yeah.
Then you have that big jump scene, or jump episode, which had the thousands and thousands of walkers. Then we went to the Morgan story. So we remember Morgan still got that guy locked up in the basement.
Yeah, and that was a stupid move. He's going to get free, or he's going to turn into a zombie and die. Somebody's going to be like, oh, we're happy. We survived. They're going to open the closet. Ah! There he is.
You got to understand, Morgan is definitely having an issue with Rick at this time, too.
Morgan's an idiot. Yeah, he's going to be a problem.
I think Morgan should become the leader of the group.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
I think Glenn needs to live, and Morgan Morgan needs to live, and Rick needs to die, and Morgan needs to take over the group.
Yes, that's what we need during a zombie apocalypse. A liberal approach. Yes. Don't put out your hands in anger. Put them out in friendship when someone holds a machete to your fingers to chop them off. Anyway. Tonight, I think we're going to start seeing some stuff amp up. We got to, right? This is the third of the last 3. So I think we're going to see Rick be more involved in this episode. We've seen Morgan. We know last week that Carl was fighting with Goofy, and he was getting ready to run off. And he's like, I'm going to tell your dad there's going to be a big issue there. So we're going to see a hunt tonight for Carl. Carl looking for his girly friend, and we're going to run into some trouble. And I don't think.
Hey, do you think that this kid's gonna try and kill Rick?
Yeah, sooner or later.
His dad?
Well, what he's gonna do is he's gonna build up to the courage to do something stupid, and then he's gonna end up getting killed by the guy locked in the basement.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. And Rick's going to get the blame, and it's going to ruin his new love life.
Well, I think so. That's what's going to happen. The guy's going to come out and take the kid hostage, where he's like one of those people that could really die off of the series. Nobody's like really personally attached to him, but it's going to be a big shocker. Oh my God.
What if he convinces the kid to run away with him and he gets him to go out and join the wolves?
Join the wolves. I think the wolves' day are done. You might see one more small attack, and then Negan might just take them out. Because from what I hear, the Saviors.
True.
But you know what? If you go back,
the Saviors, and I'm sorry I blew that question because I had wolves on the mind because I was leading up to that question. But Saviors versus wolves, yes, Saviors win every time.
Right. But you know, if you go back, Nathan, when you first start talking about Negan, because everybody knows I wasn't a big Walking Dead comic book guy. I wish I had been, but I never, I'd never really, it never caught my interest. Until I seen the TV show. And you had brought up Negan and the ball bat and everything. Now, since you said that, after Beth gets killed at that hospital where the cops had her, and they went back to Noah's home place, remember where Tyrese got it after he was on our show? He was more G&D fatality there, guys. Anybody from the
we begged him not to die, and he did it anyway.
Yeah, anybody from The Walking Dead comes on the show dies like the next 2 episodes, except for Ross Marquand, Aaron.
Yes, still living.
Ross is still going.
Keep
strong.
it up, Ross.
Keep it up, buddy. Come back
In
on
fact,
the show.
appear a little bit more often on the show, would you, Ross?
Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, but there are little signs. If you go back, guys, I just seen it on TV. They were replaying it this week, and I watched it. When Noah walks into the house and he sees his mother, brother, or whatever, and they had been killed, if you look in the side of the head, there's a baseball-shaped spot where somebody has crushed the skull in with a baseball. Perfect. And it shows you because it's all black and hollowed out and one of the corpses laying on the ground. And then if you remember right, Glenn and Rick are talking outside in the streets while Tyrese and Noah go into the house where Tyrese gets bit. And he picks up a baseball bat on the street. So there's little signs everywhere.
Indeed.
I'm thinking. And there's more than that. If you've noticed, all these towns have been burnt. All these places, they go around town and people are just like, not paying any attention to it. I mean, could it be the wolves? Maybe it was the wolves. I don't know. But these towns are all burnt, and
they are living by candlelight, most of them, and
you never know. You never know. Anyway, Demon Hunter, that's what I think is going to happen tonight on The Walking Dead. And
all right, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille.
You haven't said anything about the baseball bat. You haven't said anything about my boy Bruce, the new show, man.
I haven't gotten to watch it yet.
Oh my God!
I've saved them all on the DVR, and if somebody blabs and tells me what's going on, I don't mind. I'm not one of these people who will stay off of Facebook so he doesn't hear what's going on or yell at other people for talking about stuff on Facebook. Let me say this to people right now. If you are a person who goes on Facebook and you have a favorite show and you haven't gotten to see it yet, don't go on Facebook until you see the show. Do not yell at people for talking about it because Facebook is the new water cooler, folks, and they're going to be talking about it. If you don't want to hear about it, avoid it. And that's my feeling, Sean. I'm sticking to it.
That's your crazy rant, brother.
That's my rant for the evening.
That's your rant. Anyway, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Anyway, it's amazing. I don't have Stars, but Stars put that first season out or the first episode out there. I love it.
I am, like I said, I've got them all DVR'd. I just haven't gotten to watch them yet.
Have you seen the meme where it was your boy Bruce Campbell? Yeah, and he's standing there and he's looking in the mirror or whatever, and he's got the chainsaw in his hand, and it says Daryl Dixon with a question mark. Never heard of her. Like he's the new bad boy at television. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, Demon Hunter, it's time to go to break, buddy. What do you say?
I say, I guess I better call our guest.
Yeah, we better get him on the line, guys. Just a reminder, if you're just joining us, tonight's guest, he's a board-certified psychiatrist. He's a professor of psychiatry at the New York Medical College and also on the faculty of the Columbia University. He's Pi Beta Kappa graduate of Princeton University. He's going to stop by tonight and tell us behind the scenes of a clear-cut case of demonic possession. He's going to tell us his educated opinion and his eyewitness accounts of what he's seen. Get ready, guys. Make sure the lights are on because it's going to get real. It's going to get real tonight. It's going to get spooky. Yeah, he told us it's going to get spooky. And you guys be sure to start listening around us because every once in a while, Nathan, don't we get interference, stuff like that on the air?
Yes, we do.
I'm telling you guys, this stuff does happen, just like when we had the Dibby Box on. So pay close attention, guys. We're going to go to break, Nathan. Name of the song tonight is Mind Reader Blues. Name of the band, Blind Boy Paxton. Nathan.
Sean.
Shadow Nation. We'll be right back.
can see just what's on your mind. Baby, I can see just what's on your mind. You got a long black mane with a goatee in his face. Don't kid your daddy, you ain't fooling nobody but yourself. Don't kid your daddy, you ain't fooling nobody but yourself. And when I see on your mind, you would not have no friend. When I remember days when I was living in Lula town. I remember days when I living in Lula town. My poor gal was so bad till I had to leave the town. I got the riverside, she got the travel boat. I got the riverside, she got the travel boat. But she's on my Daniel, I say, everywhere I go. I got a girl from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, too. I got a girl from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, too. I'm gonna sweep up on the Saturday, ask these women what we gonna do. Don't look for me on Sunday, won't you catch me at Sunday school? Don't look for me on Sunday, won't you catch me at Sunday school? You a fine looking fat brown, but you just ain't learned my rules. He'd end up something like that.
This is Nick Pope, formerly with the British Ministry of Defence, talking about the declassification of the UFO files. You're listening to the Ghostman and Demon Hunter show.
Hey, welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only mystifying Oracle of Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. Tonight's guest is a board-certified psychiatrist. He's a professor of psychiatry at the New York Medical College and also on the faculty of the Columbia University Psychoanalytic Institute. He was a Pi Beta Kappa graduate of Princeton University. He went on to train in psychiatry at Yale University. Dr. Gallagher is the only psychiatrist to have served for a number of years on the governing board of the International Association of Exorcist. He has collaborated with many priests, ministers, and other clergy in the assessment of individuals being evaluated for possible demonic attack over the last 25 years. Please help us welcome Shadow Nation to studio, Dr. Richard Gallagher. Doctor, how are you tonight?
Pretty good, thanks.
Doctor, I have to say there's too many big words in your opening bio there. I haven't heard Sean get slipped up in a long time.
I did. I got slipped up there. Thanks so much. We know you're a busy man coming on tonight, and we know this is a hot-button topic. It has been for a while. And, Nathan has a bunch of questions just alone from your degrees and all the schools you've done, and in such high standing in what you do. How did you get involved in the field of exorcism?
Well, pretty much everything I've done, I've been asked to do. You know, I was asked to do some priest I knew when I was younger, 20-something years ago, to just sort of assess some people, make sure that, we're not dealing with just a psychotic or other psychiatric case. And then, I was asked to join the International Association. I was asked to be on its governing board. So pretty much not that I'm against volunteering, but pretty much everything I've been asked to do, I've done as sort of a favor to people because they asked.
And how do you respond the first time someone asks you, we're dealing with a case that may be a possession. Would you do a psychiatric profile?
Well, I was brought up a Catholic, and I always believed in this stuff. I'd read a little bit about it. I really didn't have any idea how common or uncommon it was. I had a strong impression this stuff was possible, but probably pretty rare. And I do think it's rare, although I don't think it's quite as uncommon as some people think. And so when I was asked, I try to be a good physician and try to be a caring human being. So I said, okay, I'll see if I can help you out in any way.
Now,
go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to talk about the International Association of Exorcists. I mean, within itself, that is such an exclusive group. While you were growing up, when did you become aware that this? I know it was founded in 1990 by 6 priests. When were you approached to join?
Well, because I was very good friends with 2 priests, I mean, they had sort of been the original guys who asked me to help them out a little bit. And because at that time, these were 2 priests who really, were rare in the sense that there weren't a lot of exorcists in the United States at the time. So they would see a lot of cases. They would kind of travel around the country even and see cases. Yeah. And, it was a unique vantage point for me because I'd also often be invited to go with them. And we would see a tremendous amount of cases. A lot of times people just see sort of cases in their particular region or diocese, but we saw cases all over the United States. They both got involved in the International Association fairly early on. So again, they asked if I would join them, and then a few years later, the president of the organization, who was a priest, asked if I'd be on the governing board as a kind of scientific advisor for a number of years.
Yeah. Nathan, you had a question you wanted to
Yeah, I was just going to ask, we were talking about the common ground of exorcisms and how rare they are versus the possibility of a real exorcist or a real possession occurring.
Right.
And we had just spoke recently to someone who had followed exorcisms in Italy, and
right.
The way he described it to us was there is a room that the Vatican provides where people show up to be interviewed to see if they need an exorcism, and the priests and psychologists there might see 30 people a day. How does that relate to the way things are done here in the U.S.?
Well, first of all, was that person Matt Baggio?
It was.
Baggio? Yeah, I know Matt. He had interviewed me for his book, The Right, so he quotes me a few times. It's an excellent book, and I strongly recommend that people who have an interest in this field consider reading it. Yeah. The movie with that was made with Anthony Hopkins was kind of campy and sensationalized, and it was a little ridiculous in points. But the book from which the original movie was made is actually a quite sober, detailed account. I can't say that I'm 100% aware of exactly how the Vatican tends to do it at this point. I know there have been a few exorcisms done in the Vatican, and a couple done by Pope John Paul II. Right. But in the United States, I would say it's done in a very careful way, and it's really up to each diocese how they're going to do it. Each diocese or each little region, so to speak, of jurisdiction sets their own policies. But in general, to get an exorcism done in the United States, you usually go through a pretty careful evaluation process. It often involves an evaluation by a doctor as well as hopefully an experienced priest. They often ask you to sign a consent form. They're very careful that they don't just sort of take a psychotic individual or someone with severe mental problems who is not possessed and give them an exorcism. So it's kind of a little more of a formal, careful process than by and large is the procedure in Italy.
Well, that's one of the things, and then I want to get right into the new Oxford Review, the amazing article you did there, because we've studied this stuff, Doctor, for years, like you have, and we've both been witness to an exorcism. Me from a Baptist standpoint, Nathan. Nathan, were you Catholic or?
No, I was raised Baptist. Never saw a Baptist exorcism or a cleansing or whatever they call it. They were actually I went to several different exorcisms through different religions. It was.
Well, I was 13 when I seen my first one, Doctor, and I still can't.
Okay.
I still can't tell you exactly what I seen. To this day, I still look for proof of certain things. But like we spoke before, I am a believer. I was raised Baptist, and I have seen enough things to tell me there's other stuff, but not as much as you, sir. And I've read your articles, and we've both been glued to them. And that's one of the questions before we jump into the new Oxford Review. Having the background you have with psychiatry and everything like that, the first thing when I was on the police department, when all new recruits go through training, they give you a psych eval. Everybody knows it, and there's probably 6 billion questions on there. It looks like 40 stacks of, Bibles you have to go through. And 2 of the questions, do you believe in ghosts? And the other, do you believe in aliens? And if so, have you ever encountered some? So I started thinking to myself, when I was sitting there taking this, I wanted to say, well, I believe in the possibility of aliens. And then I wanted to say, yeah, I think there was a ghost in the house where I grew up. But I got scared, and I answered, no, I don't.
Right.
Why? How do
Well,
you?
that may have been sensible on your part.
That's what they say most airline pilots that witness UFOs and stuff. They won't report it because they're going to lose their wings. But
no, I hear you.
How do you approach that? I mean, being such a high standing in exorcism to me is a very real deal. But colleagues and of course the skeptics and all these people come after you when you came forward with the article that we're going to talk about. But how did you approach that? Coming forth and saying, "Hey, this is a real probability that this is happening."
Well, I'm pretty independent, as even as a doctor. Even though, again, I do a lot of standard teaching and that sort of thing, and certainly, take care of a lot of patients, and have a pretty good teaching and supervising relationship with young doctors. I mean, in some other ways, I like most psychiatrists can sort of practice how we think is best. Right. And you got to remember, I've never really had a patient who just comes in the door and says, maybe I'm possessed or something. These are the cases I've seen are not even necessarily in my local area, and they, are people that really are seeking help themselves. So, sure, it comes up with some other doctors from time to time, and believe it or not, there are a number of mental health people, psychologists and nurses and psychiatrists who do believe in this stuff. I can't say it comes up in sort of daily conversation with people.
Right.
So it's not something that really, has been a major problem. I mean, psychiatrists are kind of trained to be a little more open than in the old days about different stuff, and often the value to even mental health of a sort of sound and reasonable spirituality. So there's certainly, psychiatrists who have asked me about it and are intrigued about it. I must say, I haven't run into a lot of, I really haven't run into a lot of antagonism. You mentioned the reaction to the New Oxford Review article where I talk about what is really, a quite clear case of possession.
Yeah.
And, you'll see all kinds of people on the internet, but even most Americans, are actually, it's a fairly religious country in some ways, and most Americans are actually quite open to this stuff. I mean, everybody kind of knows, some paranormal stuff goes on, and since an awful lot of people in this country, try to be open in their spirituality or are outright Christians, you'd probably be surprised, at the percentage of people who, at least in this country, who believe in this stuff, and that includes physicians. So you'll get certain people on the internet who are kind of the extremists, I call them. They're kind of extreme materialists, or they're very frightened by, religious ideas or the idea of a demon or something, or they're very antagonistic towards religion. And those people can be, pretty vituperative, pretty almost bitter in their criticism. But that's a minority of people. It's like I don't worry about people like that.
Right.
Most people like that have actually had no experience with a genuine case, and they're just sort of pontificating about their ideas, without having any experience in this field. And a lot of them are not even very open-minded as individuals. But we're talking about a minority of people.
Right.
Do you ever come across any of these folks when they're saying these things to you, and you just want to say, well, I'll tell you what, go get your doctorate in either psychiatry or theology, and then come back and we'll talk?
Well, I don't want to hold credentials over people's heads. People are entitled, it's a free country, and that's the way we want it, and people are entitled to their viewpoint. I just do feel that, and of course, there are many wonderful people who, haven't had much education, but are beautiful people and believers, and it certainly doesn't take a lot of education to be a believer in this stuff. Right. On the other hand, these individuals tend to be kind of closed-minded. What I often say to them when they tell me, as they often do, well, all these people you're writing about must be psychotic or crazy or something. I say, well, have you ever seen a psychiatric patient who can levitate? Have you ever seen a psychiatric patient who can speak perfect Latin?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen these things, or worked with people who, have routinely seen these things in say, in exorcisms. And I think the skeptics, who I commend for some interest, at least they're interested in these things.
Sure.
The skeptics generally just don't have much real experience of these things. They've never really seen a genuine case, so they're kind of based on, in some ways, sort of outdated materialistic ideas. They're kind of making pat criticisms that really don't reflect a lot of knowledge of the field.
I was reading, Doctor, under some of the comments, the many comments, back when your article, which is what I'll get into next, when you wrote your article and it was published, people were calling you, believers were calling you a patron saint of the paranormal because of your background and what you have done, and you to be on the side of people that do believe, saying, hey, this is what I've seen, and, people that believe in this aren't all nutty here. And then the skeptics, you're becoming their worst nightmare because it's hard to argue with a man that has the background and the education that you have.
Look, some of the skeptics don't like what I write, but unfortunately they really they don't approach it, in my opinion, in a very open-minded way. So I'm not asking people based, say, on the dramatic case that I wrote about in the New Oxford Review, which admittedly it's a religious periodical. It's not a scientific periodical.
Sure.
Although I tried to be scientific in the article about it, but I'm not asking people to believe me on the basis of that one case. I mean, maybe that would even be foolish. It's just that there are plenty of people who have written about these things, and just because maybe they're not a professor of psychiatry, people maybe think, they're some kind of religious fanatic or something. But the fact of the matter is that there have been very sort of sober accounts by a number of people. I mean, in America, the gentleman, the priest who was highlighted in the book, The Rite,
Father
and
Gary
then sort of
Thomas. Yeah.
changed in the movie, is a guy named Father Thomas, and he's out in California, and a very smart guy, and he's written about these things. A guy I know quite well is from Spain, Father Fortea, and he's conducted many exorcists. A very wonderful and smart guy.
Right.
Father Amorth in Italy, who was the original president
Yes.
of the International Association, has also written books. But even other people, even some skeptics, have written on this topic in a very open-minded way, and at least present the evidence that then people have to interpret. So there's a lot of literature, contrary to what often people believe, documenting that there are these remarkable cases, that they clearly involve, what has tended in modern times to be called the paranormal, and you really can't be knowledgeable about the field and deny it.
Right.
You only can deny that these things exist, although you may have a different interpretation. But you can only deny that these things exist if you've not really familiar with the many individuals who have witnessed this stuff.
All right. Now, the new Oxford Review, March 2008, what some are saying is a huge game changer to the way the field of the paranormal and everything is researched, especially with demonic cases. Name of the title of the article, Among the Many Counterfeits, A Case of Demonic Possession, and that was written by none other than you, Doctor. And, and what you went on to say in that right off the bat is that you wanted to document a clear-cut case of demonic possession, which with reading it, I believe you did. Can we go into that case? Can you tell us what it takes to be able to document, what to look for, things of that nature when you're trying to, because that's a big statement. I want a clear-cut case of demonic possession. What do we look for?
Well, the case I wrote about was an extremely dramatic case, and I felt that I should bring it to the public's attention precisely because it was so clear-cut. This is a woman, and she was a Satanist. There are not Satanists on every corner, but these people do exist here and there, though it's easy to get, kind of hysterical about Satanists controlling the country and all that, which I do not believe in.
Right.
Having said that, she was a genuine Satanist. I came to know her very, very well, and she was unquestionably possessed. Now, later, after several exorcisms had been done on her, she gave me permission to write about her. After all, I'm a doctor, and I'm a psychiatrist, so I want to be careful that I don't expose someone to public view without either their permission or so disguising the case that no one could identify her, and I don't believe anybody can identify her.
Doctor, this was the case of Julia, right? The code name.
This
Julia.
is the case that I called Julia,
Yeah,
and
okay.
again. If people want to go back to that article in the New Oxford Review, I think in March of 2008, I think it was, I present completely accurate information. And again, this wasn't just my information. I knew the case very well, and again, the New Oxford Review was interested in publishing it because I'm a professor of psychiatry. But there were a number of other people who knew this woman. The chief exorcist himself, on a radio show quite a while ago, verified all the details in the report that I wrote about. So, it's not like this just came from me, and it underscores the point that I don't really want people to believe in this stuff just because Dr. Gallagher says it. I want people to, understand that there are a lot of these reports in the literature, and people should make up their own minds about it and not sort of, take a black and white approach based on how they were brought up or something like that. They should keep an open mind.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, getting back to your question, she fulfilled all the classic criteria for a complete demonic possession. Now, when people get demonically possessed, and it is rare, it's not like they're out of it 24 hours a day. You know, they're usually exhibiting things here and there, and from time to time, in the more dramatic cases, even outside of an exorcism, although sometimes it takes an exorcism, but even outside of an exorcism, periodically she would go into a trance. And, you know, to a psychiatrist, people can say, well, you know, maybe this is dissociation, maybe this is dissociative identity disorder, maybe she was abused, et cetera, et cetera. But her trances were remarkable because she would go into the trance, and out of her would come a hostile voice. Now, you know, again, that voice was clearly sounded different than her usual voice, but it clearly was using her vocal cords. It's using her body.
Right.
So it didn't sound like, you know, a disembodied spirit or something. It sounded like a nasty person using her body.
Right.
And it would often say, you know, incredibly nasty things, you know, mainly along the lines, often with curses and vulgar terms that I won't recapitulate.
Right.
But it was often, you know, leave us alone. You know, you're stupid, get out of here. And these were usually addressed to the priest who were trying to help her. And then she would come out of the trance, and she wouldn't remember what she said. She was completely amnestic, you might say, for what was going on during those trances. And again, a lot of people can say, well, you know, this could have been, you know, multiple personality, this could have been so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. It really was not a typical case of that sort. But what makes one extremely convinced is that she had all kinds of psychic abilities. Now, during the exorcism itself of her, and I must confess, I did not go to this particular exorcism, you know, about 8 people assisting the exorcist and the exorcist himself, who publicly talked about it on the radio, you know, swore that she levitated for about a half an hour. Okay. And they claim that she spoke all kinds of different languages, you know, Latin and Spanish and French, languages that she, you know, she was a bright woman, but she was not highly educated. Right. Languages that this woman, you know, certainly never learned. Now she also exhibited, you know, in addition to levitation, she exhibited incredible strength. It took multiple people to hold her down. And she also would kind of, even during the exorcism, and in fact even outside of the exorcism, she would know all kinds of hidden pieces of knowledge. For instance, she knew how my mother died. She died of a particular type of cancer. But she knew all kinds of things, and I mean, that stuff I witnessed repeatedly from her, even outside of the exorcisms itself. So the classic criteria are, at some point when the demonic entity is manifesting itself, at some point, often you will see, not always, but you know, quite frequently in the worst of the cases, you will see almost superhuman strength. You will see knowledge of hidden things that they cannot know otherwise, and you will see often speaking in different languages, which they never learned. Those are not, you know, those are suggestive criteria, but in combination with the appearance of a truly hostile personality that manifests itself, and the person doesn't even remember when it happens, you know, because they're out of it at that time. That's a pretty good, you know, to answer your question, that's a pretty good set of criteria that indicate seems to be an evil spirit manifesting itself.
Nathan, are you getting Nathan, can you hear me? Okay, I kind of, you went low on us again there, man. I'm getting some interference. Doctor, you're real low. You need to adjust your sound. No, it's actually lower. Doctor, can you hear him okay?
I can hear you okay. I cannot hear Nathan.
Okay. Well, Nathan, you try to fix that. I'll talk to the doctor. Here we go again. Sometimes strange. We can hear you, but it's real low, my friend.
Can you hear me?
Oh, just fine. Just fine.
Yeah, I can barely hear you, Nathan, and sometimes strange things happen, you know.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit more, because we've experienced that over the years, and we had spoke on the phone briefly, and you said, "Hey, Sean, sometimes things." Can you talk about that a little bit? Why do things tend to happen around when discussing this topic? Do you think?
Well, you don't want to jump to conclusions, and you want to keep a certain, sobriety. But I don't think the demonic world particularly is in favor of us exposing their tactics. And yes, they have the ability to interfere with electronic things. I mean, unfortunately, I've seen that over and over again.
So what do you think about, and I know here goes ADD again for me, electronic voice phenomena, things of that nature, regular ghost? Do you believe there's difference between, regular human type, once human ghost, and then never ever being in human form demonics?
Well, that's a pretty provocative question, and there are intelligent people who, have different opinions about that. I mean, there are many people throughout history, tens of thousands, who claim they've seen something like a ghost. And some people feel, dead souls may have some ability to appear, and other people, feel that maybe the demonic is playing tricks in that area. It's hard to know, but I do know that, people, very educated people, very uneducated people,
right.
People in all professions, people in almost every country, they report these phenomena. So the interpretations of them differ, but clearly, there aren't all these people who are just, psychotic or making things up.
Hey, if you can hear me, Dr. Gallagher, I have a question now.
Okay.
Is that better, Sean?
It is. You sound great, man.
Okay.
I can hear you guys. I can hear you guys well now.
Yeah, you've been fine the whole time, Dr. Gallagher. It's
good.
Whenever people start talking demons, for some reason my board just shuts down.
Or my house blows up.
I hear you. I wish I could say that is doesn't happen, but it does seem to happen.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you something even more remarkable that people find hard to believe, because sometimes when you're talking about this subject, the skeptical people say, "Well, why didn't you tape it?" And sometimes you'll see tapes of people who are possessed or an exorcism, and often the evidence is kind of fuzzy, or at least not convincing. I have talked to people, and I haven't tended to get involved in taping these things. I mean, some of it is a matter of privacy and discretion too, but I've talked to different people, because I know a lot of people in this field all over the country who have tried to tape these things. They get dramatic things, and then when they play the tape back, it's blank. So again, it sounds almost ridiculous or superstitious to say that this sort of thing can happen, but there's no question that the demonic world can interfere with a certain amount of electronic equipment. Maybe they're doing it with you tonight on this show.
Well, yeah, I mean, once you believe in the realm of the supernatural, everything's off the table. I mean,
Well,
yeah, which is all the more reason, of course, to keep your common sense and to look at the evidence. But
right.
It's certainly true that strange things happen in this field.
I know it fascinated.
And so some people, they say, well, I want proof. Well, I say the demons are not going to act like some exhibitionist Hollywood actress. They're not necessarily going to make it easy for this evidence to be collected. Again, having said that, I would balance that by the fact that, experts who have written about this stuff, and not even always Christian people, students of this subject for many, many years. There was a famous German professor named Professor Osterreich, and he was not a particularly believing or religious person. And he gathered, hundreds and hundreds of these reports throughout history. And he wound up saying, I used to think this was hysteria and psychosis. He said, he eventually concluded, the more I studied this stuff, I realized that, the pure rationalist, the pure materialist just is incapable of explaining this stuff. That, in fact, there is a realm, he called it psychic phenomena, that is just beyond normal human beings. I often recommend that people. I've never talked to the gentleman, but there's a professor at Asbury College. I think it's a theological college in Kentucky, and he has a chapter in a couple of chapters in one of these books where he's collected hundreds of examples of this stuff. I mean, not just demonic possession, but what is sometimes called demonic oppression. And it's very hard when a very open-minded, smart individual like that, admittedly he's a type of theologian, but he doesn't appear to have any particular axe to grind. I recommend, his name is Craig Keener, by the way, and I recommend people just, buy his book. It's available online. And it's very hard to read those kind of chapters. He happens to be a Christian, but as I said, this Professor Osterreich 100 years ago was not. And yet, they have hundreds of examples of this stuff, not only throughout history, but even in modern times.
Now, Dr. Gallagher, have you ever walked into a room that you were asked to evaluate, walk out afterwards and say, I don't think it's a possession, but boy, it's going to make a great paper? Is it something that, have you ever written about?
I've seen a lot of very strange stuff, and a lot of times when people think they're possessed, I do have to tell them that I think they have psychiatric problems. Right. The most common conditions that get confused for possession are either psychotic individuals, and look, doctors and mental health and other aware people are aware. Very much so, and sometimes more than very religious people might be. They're very well aware that there are people who with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or something who think they are being attacked by a demon, who are not, who clearly have some kind of brain disease. So we do have to be careful about that, and that's why I know at least the Catholic Church almost always wants a psychiatric evaluation. There are also people who are very suggestible. You might say on the histrionic side is the word we tend to use in modern psychiatric terminology, who kind of come to believe, they may not be directly psychotic, but they come to believe somehow, some kind of evil feeling inside suggests to them that, I must be possessed, and they're not. They're psychologically disturbed. There are even people who dissociate, and we've all heard about cases of so-called multiple personality disorder. It's a much better term used nowadays as something called dissociative identity disorder. And these are people who maybe have a side of themselves that's a little bit on the aggressive or malignant side, and they can even come to believe themselves, or other people can come to believe, well, these people must be possessed, when in fact, again, they have primarily simply a psychiatric disorder. Now, I've seen cultural anthropologists who say, well, all these cases of demonic attack and demonic possession throughout history must have been, multiple personality or dissociative identity disorder, and people were just too ignorant in those times to recognize it. And I always come back with that same type of rejoinder I said before. I've never seen a psychiatric patient who can levitate. I've never seen a psychiatric patient who knows all this hidden knowledge, or can speak all these foreign languages. I mean, that's not what a human being is capable of. However, it is what a demon is capable of.
We lost you again, Nathan. I can hear you. You're real low.
It must be the connection.
Yeah, I think it is. You were in and out there. You just come in when you can, my friend. Dr. Gallagher, I got to ask you why Nathan's fixing that. Our system never does this. So I think we are having one of those nights, but we're going to push on. So not many people have had the opportunity to see the things you have. Patients with, mental sickness and in fact, if you will, people that are demonically oppressed, right, or possessed. What is it? What does that do for your life when you've stared into the darkness, when you've peered into the darkness and you've seen it staring back at you because you were on a case that you truly believe 100% that this young lady was demonically possessed, and you looked into her eyes and you were trying to be there to help, and in the end it says that the exorcism, I guess it didn't fail, but it didn't get rid of the demon. What does that do to your life at night when you're home alone, when you get the heebie-jeebies?
Well, look, I mean, I try to be a good Christian myself, and I try to pray about these things and keep my peace and keep my calm. I mean, I don't think I get, overly carried away. In a way, it's part of, my work life. I mean, it's part of what people have asked me to evaluate, and it's almost like a glimpse into, again, the preternatural or supernatural realm that, I guess God allows for some purpose. I try to keep my peace about it. I mean, I've seen some things that are definitely, spooky. And of course, I wouldn't be human if I wasn't affected by it. One of the spookiest things I ever experienced personally was 2 incidents involving this particular woman. We call Julia. That's not her real name, but we're using a pseudonym, and she did give me permission to talk about her. Right. One is I was, in my bedroom with my wife, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, these 2 cats went berserk. We had 2 cats, and, they were fairly placid, well-behaved cats. Yeah. All of a sudden, they went berserk and started to scratch each other and fight each other. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, it woke us up. And, I said to my wife, what did we do, something they ate or something? The next morning, we had to separate them. The next morning, this woman, Julia, who was a Satanist, and as I said, had all kinds of, hidden knowledge and psychic ability, even outside of her possessed state. In other words, she had some of these psychic powers, which she actually enjoyed having. I mean, it's part of the reason why she was drawn to Satanism in the first place. Right. She had these psychic abilities even when the demon was not manifesting itself in a trance. And I met her the next day, and she said, well, Dr. Gallagher, how did you like those cats last night? Because I hadn't mentioned anything. Wow. I mean, that's a pretty remarkable thing if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan, are you still...
I think I'm okay now. Can you hear me?
You sound
I can hear you now, Nathan.
Okay.
Another experience, if I may, with her was, a few weeks later, I was on the phone with one of the exorcists. There was an assistant exorcist. And he was asking me if I could come to the next exorcism. And so we're talking over the phone when it was going to be and where it was going to be. And, I had become familiar with the sound of this demonic voice.
Bang.
Now Julia was not, she was like 1,000 miles away. I mean, because she had come to get the exorcism from a long distance. And the same voice, which again was quite nasty and cursing, and I'm not going to imitate all the curses, but it came in over the phone line. And we talk about interference with electronic equipment. That voice, even though Julia was not in on this conversation and was 1,000 miles away, the demonic voice came in over the phone line and said, "We said to leave her alone," in this very angry, demanding, nasty voice, and a couple of other things which I won't even quote at this point.
Wow.
And I said to the exorcist, who was very experienced. He was the assistant exorcist on the case, not the chief exorcist. And I said, did you hear that? And the exorcist very calmly said to me, yes, in a dramatic case like this is the kind of thing that can happen.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because Sean wanted me to be sure to ask you, because I had actually brought this up with Matt too. You know, on the cases that I'd worked on, I'd witnessed a few things that go right along with what you're saying. I witnessed a tiny little guy throw two huge men off of him. I've actually, in one of the cases, that same case, when we were discussing the case, the phone rings, and we pick it up, and it's the young man we were trying to talk to, but speaking to us in the demonic voice.
Right.
And, it was the early ages of caller ID, so we know it's coming from his house.
Right.
But when we talked to his family the next day, they were like, remember, folks, this was the early 90s. You had one phone in your house, and they're like, well, we were in the kitchen, and that's where the phone is. He never came into the kitchen and made a call.
Right.
And
well, look, you're underscoring, the point I was making before, that this is not just one or two people in a blue moon who report this stuff. I mean, if people really know these cases, they can get scores of witnesses to this stuff. And look, people are going to have different interpretations. People could say, well, the human mind is, has these amazing abilities, but to me, you have to use your common sense, since a lot of these people who are victims of this kind of attack are actually kind of tormented and in pain, we're dealing with spirits, and we appear to be dealing with evil spirits in the sense that they want to harm people and dominate people, and to me, it may sound exaggerated to say it. I think if you're knowledgeable about this field and kind of read the books that are out there, and there are many of these books. I mean, it's not just my article. You have to come to the conclusion that the most likely explanation is that evil spirits are a scientific fact, and I say that in those terms. It's an historical fact. It's not something you can study in a lab, because, demonic entities are not going to allow themselves to be experimented with.
Well, obviously, Doctor, you've never watched the movie Entity, because that's what it was all about. But the thing that really threw me with all these things that I've seen was not something I saw, but something I heard. And as you were saying with the voice, and I was talking about this with Matt, once you hear that voice kind of switch over, it sticks with you forever.
It does, and you're right. It's quite an experience, and it's a kind of eerie feeling. But you kind of do begin to recognize the kind of genre of voice there. At the same time, it's people could say, well, look, the person was in a weird mood, and you saw a side of themselves that only comes out at certain times, and obviously someone can imitate that voice, but again, it's the combination of these factors, the paranormal, the voice, the attack on the person, and especially in the context of religious history, where this stuff has been reported for centuries and centuries. And there is a credible religious explanation.
Dr. Gallagher, and I know we've kept you over, sir, and I apologize, but I'm fascinated by you, and and I know you got to get ready to wrap it up, but I just wanted to say, even in the Bible, it says that regular men, even bad men, can cast out demons in my name. in Jesus' name you can cast out demons. Why is it that some of these exorcisms are so hard to do, and the priests are very in doubt, and they're in there, and everybody's, pure of heart, and they've tried to help these people, and sometimes it just fails, like it did with Julia, the exorcism did. What?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, one of the
happen?
exorcists I was very close with, used to say, no prayer is wasted. In a way, no exorcism fails. Prayer is always of some value. However, it's not entirely up to any individual, any man, any human, priest or not, or, minister, priest. And, there are other religions that have dealt with exorcisms too. It's not up to us. I mean, as a Catholic, I would say it's up to our Lord when He wants to deliver, and when He knows is the right time for a person to be delivered.
And I'll point this out, Sean, having done my time in theology school, biblically speaking as well, that it might say that. However, there was also the case where the Jewish priests were trying to cast out demons because they'd seen the apostles or heard the apostles had so much luck casting out demons using the name of Jesus and John the Baptist. And the demon that they were casting out said, I know of Jesus and John the Baptist, but who are you?
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, can demons be cast out in Jesus' name? Yes. However, there is also that extent of belief, and if not belief, at least some faith that's involved with it.
Do you think that's why?
Sometimes I'll talk to my Jewish friends, and they'll say, well, there's really very little emphasis in the Hebrew Bible, and very little emphasis in Jewish history about belief in demons. But there's some truth to that, but it is not entirely true. In the Acts of the Apostles, it talks about Jewish exorcists. The great Jewish historian Josephus in ancient times talked about Jewish exorcisms and Jewish cases of possession. And really every culture has had evidence of possession and evil spirits. I mean, it really is. In fact, probably possession is more common even today in places like Haiti and Africa and countries where there's often a great interest in voodoo and witchcraft and that sort of thing. So again, skeptics really have an impossible time explaining that these things have existed all throughout history.
And even the case of Nebuchadnezzar could be construed as a possession case. So we're talking Old Testament here. So.
Yeah, there's some dispute about some of the Old Testament cases, but I certainly as the time of Christ came along, some of the later Jewish writings, prior to the time of Christ, were very preoccupied with demons and belief in demons. And when Jesus served as an exorcist, and in my opinion, he seems like he was the most successful exorcist of history, because he could not only discern it but drive out demons, quickly, and that's not always the case with even very, very holy people and very good priests. Sometimes they're unsuccessful. Sometimes it takes literally years, although other times I've seen cases be delivered in just one session. But it's quite clear, unless you're like an extreme skeptic about the Bible, that not only did Jesus drive out many demons, used it as a sign of his power in many ways, but also took it for granted that the population at the time, who like himself was Jewish, most of his audience and certainly his early followers were all Jewish. They took it for granted that this stuff exists.
Yeah. Now, Doctor, I know we've kept you over, and I just want to ask you in close, where does Dr. Gallagher go from here? Is there any plans for a book in the future, maybe something to document the case more? or the cases you've been on?
There might. I wrote another article more recently for the New Oxford Review, which again, it's not a scientific publication. You know, the problem with scientific publications is, you know, they understand by science, and it's probably a good thing. You know, we have to have very strict criteria by what we call science. So, you know, they're a little less interested in this subject, and that's not. I tell people that's not such a terrible thing.
They'd be more interested if you were disproving possessions. Is that what you're using psychology?
Yeah, or you interpreting as that as some kind of psychiatric illness, you know. But I did write another article just this past year where I talked about the views of another French physician. His name is Jean Lermite, and his book was republished. I thought it was, you know, a good book, although I thought it had certain limitations. And here was another physician in the middle of the 1900s, the middle of the 20th century, who also believed in this stuff.
Well, I look forward to looking into that and reading that, absolutely. Nathan, do you have anything else we can let the good doctor go?
I am done. He answered every one of my questions.
Dr. Gallagher, we're going to close out the show. If you could stay on the line just for a second for we could wrap up with you after we get off the air.
A final comment? Do you have time for it?
Absolutely.
Oh, of course.
We got all
please.
the time you need.
You know, one of the questions that people most typically ask about this whole thing is, why would God allow these people to be tormented in these ways? Yeah. Number one, you got to remember, you know, people do have free will, except in those instances where the demon is in full control. So I tell people, you know, it's not as if people can blame the devil for, you know, their actions. People have free will, and they can't say, "Oh, the devil made me do it." But people go on to say, "Well, how could God allow, you know, these terrible things to occur?" And, you know, I say there's a lot of terrible things in the world. You know, there's cancer, there's human suffering of all sorts. There's abuse. There was the Holocaust. You know, there are terrible wars where terrible things go on. You know, when you ask the question, why does God allow this particular form of attack, you know, you're really asking the larger question: why does God allow evil at all? And again, that comes back to the issue of free will. You know, human beings who are free to do good things are sometimes free to do very bad things, and sometimes even free to, you know, be turn to the dark side, turn to the demonic. So it's all part of, you know, this whole mystery of the universe, why we were created with free will and why we are allowed to choose good or evil. And, you know, as best as I can tell, that's the answer to the question of, you know, why these terrible things happen. It's a mystery on one level, and those of us who are, you know, on the religious side, as I am, you know, we trust that somehow, you know, even if we don't always understand it, you know, God knows what he's doing. We don't.
You're right, Dr. Gallagher. And, you know, when Matt came on, and I asked him something so similar to, aren't we outnumbered? I mean, these things never existed before. They roam the earth in the darkness, and they just wait to prey on mankind and you know, sin and hate and anger and death. Aren't we outnumbered? And if we are, why don't we see more of this? You know, why don't we see more people falling down the streets in torment?
Well,
you know,
how do you say outnumbered?
Why don't you, like in America?
Why do you say outnumbered? Because you know, I firmly believe we're on the winning side.
I would believe that too. I'm a Christian.
Mean, if you know, any kind of, you know, strong Christian is going to believe that, in fact, you know, God is in control.
Right.
Yes, he allows a certain amount of this. He allows a certain amount of evil in general for his mysterious purposes. It's not like he wants this to happen.
Well, I think it was a quote I referenced in the movie The Right from Father Gary Thomas. His his character when he said, if sin is from the devil and we're all sinners, then what's the point? I mean, of course, I'm not saying not fight against it. Like I said, I believe in God and Christ. But he said, if we're all sinners, then aren't we already from the devil? And if that's the case, aren't we already condemned? Why don't we see more of this kind of stuff happening? I guess that's what I was getting at. I know, we all fall short of the glory of God and everything else.
Well, I would also say that we're protected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a famous theologian and saint in the early church, Augustine of Hippo, who was a bishop in North Africa, and he appeared to have a lot of experience in this area. And he said something that I used to think was a terrible exaggeration, sort of, early medieval nonsense. But he said, if it wasn't for the protection of God and angels and stuff, and I do believe in angels, if it wasn't for the protection of those things, Satan would try to kill us all. But we are protected, and God is much more powerful than Satan and the devils. And, we really should realize that we're on the winning side.
Well, that's good. That's good. I definitely hope so. That's why I pray every night. Nathan, you have anything else left for Dr. Gallagher before we close out the show?
I don't know. Are the demons going to let me speak through my microphone now?
That's you got to say that's.
I hear you loud and clear. So
you got to say that's weird. We don't have that happen a lot. Talking about the Jewish exorcism stuff like that, Doctor. We actually had a run-in. We did a thing on Monsters in America. Nathan got the crap beat out of him while we were on the air. Bruises were forming on his body, and then a couple days later, my family, I believe, was attacked. The house was supposed to blow up. A gas main broke, was pumping into the room where we did the interview.
Right.
So, that was after 10 years of being on the air, we've had some experiences like that. So we are believers.
This is not the field for the faint-hearted.
No, I tell people
I sent a case to a colleague of mine once, a fellow psychiatrist who is a believer, and they're trust me, there are believing doctors in this country too in this stuff. And he called me up the next day and he said, Rich, don't send me any more cases. There was a fire in my office last night. You can't be overly credulous and overly superstitious about this stuff. But, as I tell people, this is not a field for the faint-hearted.
I tell people all the time, they come to me and they're interested in ghost hunting or some form of the paranormal, and they say, I want to get into the cases like you've seen, Nathan. I want to see the demonic cases. And I look at them and say, do you love your family? And they say, yes, I love my family. I'm like, then don't get involved with the cases that I'm involved with, because if I could go back and change my field of my direction that I went in this field, I probably would. It's
Well, as I said, I didn't go into this field, with super enthusiasm. I went into this field because people asked me to help them. But I tend to agree with what I think is that you don't go into this field with spiritual preparation.
Yeah, and I don't know anybody who has followed this field who has not had some kind of, especially during a case, either an unusually high stress level come in fact, or even physical health problems. So it's
I hear you.
Well, Dr. Gallagher, thank you so much. Hang on the line 1 second. Nathan, what do you say we pay the bills?
It's time to pay them bills.
Wow, Dr. Richard Gallagher, everybody. Woo, that's a deep night, man. Special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher, Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps. Hey, are you guys listening? They want to know, so check them out at actionaudioapps.net. Midnight Syndicate, Free Music Archives. Thanks for the tunes. From the haunted back roads of America, this has been another exclusive G&D show interview. Don't go changing America. You know we won't. Demon Hunter.
Because we love you.
Good night, guys.